Welcome to Dodgers Daily. I'm Casey Porter. I'm so glad that you decided to tune in. It was another glorious Saturday. If you go back a week ago, you remember how great that day was. We found out that Gavin Stone was getting promoted. Bobby Miller made his way back to the mound for AAA Oklahoma City. Landon Knack was wonderful, and Payton Martin, he had a great outing for the Rancho Quakes. So, I stated that was my favorite day of the year. Well, I'll tell you what, yesterday rivals it. The organization, there's 5 teams: Los Angeles, then the 4 affiliates, the AAA Oklahoma City Dodgers, AA Tulsa Drillers, High A Great Lakes, then you have the Single A Rancho Quakes. Not only did they all win, I should say, not both. Not only did they all win, but hey, Rancho also had a doubleheader. They won both games in that doubleheader. So the organization went 6-0 yesterday. And then to put the cherry on top, the Dodgers beat the Padres, which is obviously a huge rival. But whenever you put the stakes into it, coming off of a loss, and then, San Diego with all the free agency and just the grind that it took and the way that it was won, yesterday was just a fantastic and glorious day. I mentioned in the show yesterday that, hey, you can't get too high, you can't get too low. And, hey, one of the great things about baseball is you get to wake up the next day and do it all again. But, hey, I'm going to go ahead and cherish yesterday for at least a little bit more before I have to move on to today and worry about today's games, because yesterday was just absolutely awesome to be a Dodgers fan, especially if you cover and follow all of the teams in the organization as closely as we do here at Dodgers Daily. Okay, so we have a just absolutely cram-packed show. We have 6 games to get to. I think I sent out something like 20, 25, maybe 30 tweets yesterday. I was probably bothering everybody with them, but I was having a heck of a lot of fun, so I hope you were too, following Dodgers baseball. Before we get into all that, reminder, if you would like to help Dodgers Daily, okay, we now have the ability to donate. We have a GoFundMe account. Click the link in the description, and it'll take you right to where you need to go to help Dodgers Daily by donating. Also, if you like this video and if you like this kind of content, go ahead and click that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily, and become a subscriber. And after you subscribe, click that notification bell, turn on your notifications. That way, every time Dodgers Daily releases a new video, you'll be notified. You won't miss a thing, and Dodgers Daily can keep growing. Okay, Dustin May, we're going to get all into his performance. He had the big sinker working, he had the cutter working yesterday, and he was absolutely fantastic. Brusdar Graterol is the only bullpen arm to give up a run. Evan Phillips got 3 big outs, but although Brusdar Graterol did give up a run, he still, he's been pitching well all year long. And then we talked about the 4 affiliates. They had 5 wins combined. So, hey, let's not waste more time. Let's get right to it. Let's start our talk about the big win last night for Los Angeles over the San Diego Padres. So let's not waste more time. Let's get right to it, and let's talk Dodgers baseball. So Dustin May got the start last night, and what a start it was for the young man out of Justin, Texas. The big redhead, Dustin May, boy, he was just absolutely fantastic. His fastballs this year, they haven't been having a big whiff rate to them. There hasn't been a lot of swing and miss to what he's been throwing to home plate, which seems kind of surprising because, he has the 98 to 100 mile an hour fastball. He's long. He has the good extension. You would think that he would get more swing and miss than he does actually with the pitch. So, hey, he's only been getting about a 17% whiff rate this year on his 4-seam fastball. So the thing about that is, if you're going to throw that 4-seam, what the Dodgers like to do with it, what modern day analytics tell you to do with that 4-seam is to ride it at the top of the zone. And the reason why you do that is you get that spin rate, and it looks like that ball is rising, kind of like a fly ball you hit in the outfield that has that backspin to it. As it has that backspin, that's what keeps that ball rising in the air. That's why guys who hit home runs, they try to get backspin on baseballs that they hit in the air. You try to get that backspin on the ball. It's called spin rate. And the higher spin rate you have, the more backspin you get on the ball, the more the ball does not sink. Now, a ball coming down from a mound like this isn't actually going to rise like that, but it will give that illusion to a hitter because the more backspin you have on it, the higher spin rate. Backspin, spin rate, that's what that is. The higher spin rate you have, the less it actually drops. And the less the ball actually drops, the more it actually looks like to a hitter it's actually rising. So the Dodgers like to get as much backspin as you possibly can get on a ball. The Dodgers like to get as much spin rate, same difference, on a baseball as you possibly can to give it the most amount of backspin so it does not drop and gives the most amount of rising illusion to a hitter, which gives above all of the modern day kind of uppercut type swings. And that plays really well. You look at all these hitters that are trying to hit fly balls nowadays, that four seam at the top of the zone gets above those barrels. Okay, so the Dodgers love doing that. They like to pair that with the slider that turns left and the changeup that turns right. Sometimes it's a two seam, and the changeup and curveball will tumble straight down to give every pitcher every different shape to beat a hitter with. Okay, so I say all that to say that, hey, Dustin May's four seam, it has not gotten a high whiff rate. Again, only 17%. So if that's the case, you're throwing fastballs up in the zone and guys aren't swinging and missing. Well, guess what happens to that fastball up in the zone? A lot that actually gets hit. That's the ball that gets hit out of the park. So that's not a good combination. So Dustin May, the adjustment to that is, hey, if my four seam is actually getting put in play quite a bit, almost 85% of the time, I've got to make an adjustment. The adjustment last night was, hey, let's go ahead and let's just throw our two seam. Let's not throw our four seam. I will show you a four seam and show you the effect of why he has to be so selective when he does actually throw it. So let's throw the two seam and then let's throw it to the bottom of the zone. That way, hey, if it does get put in play, which it gets put in play quite a bit. He did have 6 strikeouts last night, so he, in 6 innings, and that is good. That is that's quite a few strikeouts. But what he did last night was, instead of throwing the four seam, he threw the two seam and he threw it down in the zone. So now you're getting that arm side movement, which is moving it away from barrels, and you're keeping it in the part of the zone to where guys can't get it in the air. Fernando Tatis Jr. had the 2 home runs on Friday night, and those 2 home runs, they really did a lot of damage in terms of going towards winning that game. Okay, keep the ball at the bottom of the zone and then move it to your arm side and move it in on the hands of righties, away from lefties. So being in the bottom of the zone and moving away from barrels makes it impossible or next to impossible for the Padres to do a whole lot of damage with that pitch, certainly to hit home runs with it. And it was just absolutely masterful last night for Dustin May. He had that two seam and he had that cutter. So the two seam had that slight break to the right. This is a great combination. The two seam, it's not like a breaking ball or anything where it breaks to the right. It just kind of turns to the right a little bit, if you will, there towards the end. And then the cutter, the cutter is meant to be a little more subtle. It's not necessarily meant to be a swing and miss pitch. It's just meant to miss the barrel. So you had that two seam that's just kind of turning right there at the end. Then you have the slider that was kind of just turning left at the end. And boy, that is a wicked combo to induce weak contact ground balls, you name it, something Dustin May did quite a bit. Now, here's his four seam right here. Here's kind of what I'm showing, what I'm talking about. Look how this ball flattens out, and then also he doesn't always get it to the top of the zone, as you're seeing right here. So a lot of times that four seam, although it has a lot of velo behind it, it ends up just being a flat pitch that is very hittable, thrown in a part of the plate that, that's getting a lot of the plate, and then it's not at the top of the zone. It's just kind of one of those pitches that the other team can, really sit back on and attack. So right here you saw Dustin May, he got away with this pitch, but having said that, if you throw this pitch right here that you're seeing on this video, very much, you're going to get hurt with that pitch. So that's why Dustin May has to be selective with the four-seam fastballs he throws. That's why he had to throw more two seams last night. So again, 6 innings pitched for him. It was masterful. He brought a lot of energy. He created a lot of momentum for his team. All right, he just had 1 walk, which is big for him because I talk about coming off of Tommy John a lot. Hey, the big thing about it is the arm is going to feel good, but hey, what the feel is going to be like? Are you going to be able to command the strike zone the way that you want to? Did a great job with that. So 6 Ks, just 1 walk, and only 3 hits. No runs in 6 innings. Caleb Ferguson came in and did a really good job. He had a strikeout and no hits in his 1 inning. Brusdar Graterol, he came in and he did give up the 1 run, but again, he's been really, really, really good all year. And he got the Dodgers out of the big jam. So, hey, Brusdar Graterol, all in all, his ERA on the year is 3.21. So I think you can live with the job he's done so far. And then Evan Phillips. Look at these 3 pitches right here. I put them on social media. Evan Phillips, I call these 3 pitches good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Hey, the Padres, they like that chant, beat LA, beat LA. Well, hey, maybe on Sunday, but not yesterday, baby. The Dodgers, they were victorious last night, 2-1. And I talk about, hey, winning games in all sorts of different types of ways. You need to be able to win games in pitchers type games where it's low scoring. You need to be able to win slugfest. You need to be able to win games to where you have to execute as an offense and maybe steal some bases, hit behind runners, hit some sac flies. And then you also need to be able to win games where you just simply slugfest and hit home runs and, have a big slugfest going on and maybe win 9-8. So great teams that can win world championships, because in baseball, there's so many neutralizing factors. So many things have to bounce your way that the more diversified you are, the more ability, the higher ability you have to be able to adapt to things when they're not going your way. So if you can win games and play offense and pitch and do things that can adapt to whatever type of game you need to play that night, that's the type of team that becomes very, very hard to beat, no matter what type of, if you're a one-trick pony and the opponent can say, hey, well, if we just stop this and if we keep the Dodgers from doing this on any one given night, that's a lot easier to do, but if you can win close games that are pitching duels, if you can win slugfests that are 9-8, if you can win games that, are somewhere in the middle that you needed to generate a run in the 8th inning by playing good team offense, hitting behind runners, hitting sac flies, not necessarily bunting. I'm not big on bunting guys to second base. That's one part of the modern day analytics that I think is absolutely a great thing about the game of baseball. I don't like the bunt to guy to second base with one out. I'm not huge on that. I'm not saying never do it. I think there are some scenarios, but I think you have to be very selective when you actually do that. So I'm not necessarily talking about bunting. I'm just talking about good offensive baseball, hitting behind runners, hitting sac flies, stealing some bases when they're available, that kind of thing. So if you can win games, like I said, like that, and then, you're a very, very tough team to beat. And then also whenever you have pitching like you got last night from Dustin May and then the rest of the bullpen, that obviously makes you even more difficult to beat. Okay, the offense. The Dodgers are the National League leader in scoring runs with 2 outs. And I'll tell you what, when the other team's pitcher grinds and he gets to 2 outs and then he still gives up runs, there's just something about that is more demoralizing when another team gets to you. When you feel like you were almost off the hook, you're like, hey, man, I almost had him, but I didn't. And then all of a sudden the other team scores with 2 runs. That's demoralizing. So scoring with 2 runs a lot. If you look at that stat, and look at which team scored the most amount of runs with 2 outs, a lot of times that is a big indicator as to who wins that game. And I talk about always, hey, scoring runs with 2 outs, the odds are better than with any other amount of outs because you've had a longer amount of time to actually get guys on base. So if you do hit a home run, it's more likely somebody's already on base. If you do get a base hit, it's more likely somebody is already in scoring position. So the 2-out scoring thing, that's just an odds thing. But the fact that the Dodgers lead the National League in 2-out runs with 74 is fantastic. And of course, Chris Taylor's home run last night came with 2 outs as well. So add 2 to the total to get it all the way up to 74 2-out runs so far on the year, which leads the National League. So that's fantastic. Hey, how about this? The Dodgers, they have won 7 out of their last 8 games. And in the wins, the bullpen has given up a total of just 1 run in the wins. In the 7 wins, a total of just 1 run by the bullpen. So, hey, the type of offense that can win you a game in any type of way, the bullpen that has pitched very, very well. And, in 7 of the last 8 games, only given up 1 run. And then your starting pitching with Dustin May goes 6, and he's very good. That's the formula for a great team right there. And then also, hey, we talked about the night before on Friday, the Dodgers were minus 10 in walks. They gave up 11 themselves and only had 1. How about Saturday night? It flipped just a touch. The Dodgers drew 5 walks. The Padres just 1. Okay, that's a difference of 4. Well, look, the Dodgers won last night 2-1. So the Dodgers won the walk race, if you will, last night. They had 4 more walks than the Padres. That equals exactly 1 more run. And guess how much you won by? one more run. We looked at last night, or on Friday night, I should say, 11-1, that's a 10 differential. Then the Padres had 2 more stolen bases. That's a 12 differential. And guess how much the Dodgers lost by? 3 runs, which is exactly what 12 different bases equates to. So when you actually start breaking down these things as far as the little parts of the game that may go unnoticed, the smaller aspects of it, there's a lot of hidden facts right there and hidden data that actually goes to show you where teams win games. Friday night, it was the walks and the stolen base differential for the Padres. Obviously, the 2 home runs by Tatis helped too. Okay, but if you add those numbers up, that exactly equals the 3 runs that you lost by on Friday. Last night, if you look at the walk total, the Dodgers were +4 in that category, and they won by exactly 1 run, which is exactly what 4 bases would get you. Okay, so that sets us up for tonight. How about it? Sunday night baseball, Julio Urias against Musgrove for the Padres. Musgrove is a pitcher that the Dodgers have gotten to in the past, so it is going to be fantastic. And this is for the rubber match so far, to see who's going to come out. That's why I like odd. You got to have odd numbers in the series so somebody can win them. You don't tie in the series. And tonight it is Julio Urias for the Dodgers and Joe Musgrove for the Padres. So hey, that's our Dodgers talk. Let's not waste any more time though. It's time to transition to our minor league part of the show. Again, the affiliates last night, there's 4 of them. Rancho had a doubleheader, so the affiliates went 5-0 last year. So we have a whole lot of great action to get to. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right to it, and let's take a trip down on the farm. The AAA Oklahoma City Dodgers scored 1 in the 4th and 2 in the 8th, and that was all they needed as they had good pitching last night in El Paso. The AAA affiliates of the San Diego Padres, and hey, how about that? The LA Dodgers beat San Diego. The AAA Oklahoma City Dodgers beat the AAA affiliates of San Diego. And then the AA Tulsa Drillers, they also beat the San Antonio Missions, who are the AA affiliates of the San Diego Padres. So how about that? That is a Major League and AAA and AA sweep of the Padres yesterday. Matt Andrees, he went 3 1/3 innings. He gave up 1 run. Brian Hudson, the big 6'8" lefty, he came in and had 1 2/3 innings of scoreless baseball. Tyler Sear gave up a run in an inning, and who you're seeing right here, Justin Brule, he went 2 innings last night, scoreless baseball, and then Nick Robertson came in and got the 3 outs. Justin Brule, I'll tell you what, look at this pitching. Look at the way he's pitching here. There's a lot of cut to his ball. That cutter looks really, really, really good for Justin Brule, that pitch right there. And also good location. And then he changed speeds. Look at that cutter right there. Very tough against lefties. So, the combination of changing speeds, locating very well, and then cutting the baseball has been very, very good for Justin Brule. It's why he's effective. It's why he gets a lot of weak contact pop-ups, weak ground balls, that kind of thing. And, hey, Justin Brule, the thing about him, the Dodgers are so loaded with talent in the organization. He would be on a major league roster and maybe one of the guys used the most out of a pen on a lot of major league teams, but the Dodgers are just so loaded with talent that, hey, he has to fight, scratch, and claw, and it's been kind of an up and down deal with him because, like I said, the Dodgers have so much talent. This is Nick Robertson, and boy, he has been just absolutely fantastic. He has just a great combination. I talk about it every time I get a chance to talk about him, of having a very, very, very smooth wind up, so his power looks effortless, but yet at the same time, it's very deceptive to a hitter. Look, they just don't see how the ball cuts. They don't see how the ball gets on top of them. Seems like, look at that right there. The hitter just doesn't see the ball. They always look confused when they swing. They look late. So right there, another late swing. Very deceptive, but yet at the same time, he's figured out how to be deceptive while having a very smooth delivery. So I love Nick Robertson. I call him the Pro Duke. He's out of James Madison, the young man who just is just a wonderful young man to talk to. I've had a chance to interview him 3 different times. Just a wonderfully polite young man, very competitive. I'm very high on the right arm of Nick Robertson. Okay, his whip on the year is just .095, and check this out. Nick Robertson has 24 strikeouts on the year, just 2 walks. I think I'd take a 12-1 strikeout to walk ratio. Well, I mentioned that Justin Yurchek had been on the development list, and whatever they worked on is whenever he was doing that and working on the mechanics of his swing, I would assume, or whatever it was they're working on, it has absolutely worked because he is just right back at it. If you remember, Yurchek hit .365 in 2021. He hit almost .300 last year after getting off to a very slow start. And so far this year, since he's returned, he's hitting .429. He had 2 hits again last night. So this young man out of Binghamton, Justin Yurchek, he just keeps on doing what he does, and that's getting hits. In front of 6,426 fans at beautiful One Oak Field in downtown Tulsa, the Tulsa Drillers beat the San Antonio Missions, the AA affiliates of the San Diego Padres, 9-2. Tulsa scored 3 in the first and 4 in the second, so they were wasting no time. They were not messing around last night, and they had single runs in both the 6th and the 7th innings to beat the San Antonio Missions last night. We're going to get into some of the great hitting that the Drillers had. You're looking right here at Nick Frasso, who had another good outing last night for the Tulsa Drillers. And, his fastball I mentioned the other day hit 100 miles an hour. So Frasso has been pitching very well. The young man who got brought over in the trade that sent Mitch White and Alex DeJesus to the Blue Jays. I believe the Dodgers also got Moises Brito in that trade as well. Okay, so he went 4.2 scoreless last night. He gave up just 3 hits, and he had 6 strikeouts and no walks. Nick Frasso was throwing really well. The sad part of last night is he was just 1 out away from being eligible. You have to go at least 5 innings as a starting pitcher to be eligible for a victory. And he was only 1 out away from that, and he had to leave the game with what Dennis Higgins, the play-by-play voice of the Tulsa Drillers, said was maybe some kind of hand injury. That is pure speculation, so don't take me, as an exact quote on that, but he did have to come out of the game. It looked to me like it was more precautionary than anything else. Again, that is speculation as well, so, don't take any of that as verbatim or as gospel. But, so Nick Frasso, that's a little bit worrisome because he has been throwing just so fantastic. And the Dodgers, he's had injuries in the past. The Dodgers have been very careful with his pitch count. So just as Frasso's starting to, develop that pitch count and get let off the leash a little bit, if you will, he has the hand injury. We'll see how, or at least what appeared to be a hand injury, I should say. We'll see how that affects him moving in the future. But, hey, again, 4.2 scoreless, 3 hits, 6 walks, or 6 strikeouts, and no walks for Nick Frasso. The Dodgers' number 6 prospect, Andy Pages, had 2 hits yesterday for Tulsa, including his 3rd home run of the year. Andy Pages, a young man who has really slimmed down. He's played a lot more center field this year. That just makes him a more versatile player. It makes him more marketable as far as, hey, how do you get this young man to the major leagues? Because if he can play all 3 outfield positions, obviously that opens up a lot more options. Here's that home run for Andy Pages right there. Look at that power. Just low and away, went and got it, and just with one hand, hit it out into the Budweiser deck. One of the reasons why the Dodgers are so high on this young prospect, and he is listed as the number 6 prospect as far as the MLB pipeline. Look at that power from Andy Pages. Boy, how about Braden Fisher, the young man out of League City, Texas? He had another scoreless outing yesterday for AA Tulsa. That is his 8th scoreless outing and his last 9 times out so far this year. Fisher has an ERA of just 1.08, a whip of just 0.57, and an average against of 1.46. And, okay, boy, we talked about the big-time strikeout to walk ratios of some of these Dodgers pitchers in the year. Nick Robertson, we talked about it just a minute ago. Check this out. Braden Fisher, 17 strikeouts, just 1 walk. How about a 17-1 strikeout to walk ratio? This dude right now, Braden Fisher, his ball is absolutely invisible to hitters because they are just not, when they do swing, they're not hitting it. And when they do hit it, they're hitting it either right to somebody or they're not hitting it hard at all. Well, Ben Harris was back at what he does, and he threw up a 0 last night for AA Tulsa. He struck out 2. Hey, check this out. We've talked about strikeout to walk ratios. There is nobody better than Ben Harris at that. Between all of last year and the beginning of this year, Ben Harris has 102 strikeouts in 65 2/3 innings. How about that? He's averaged between last year and the beginning of this year, he's averaged almost 2 strikeouts per inning. That is just absolutely ridiculous. Ben Harris, he led, as far as innings per pitch last year, strikeouts led all of minor leagues. So, hey, great job, Ben Harris. He's back on the mound doing what he does, and that's getting outs and striking the opponents out. It's been a slow start for the Virginia Tech alum and catcher Carson Taylor, who was part of the 2020 draft. And this time last year, he was on the Dodgers top 30 prospects list. He spent 2022 a lot being injured, but he finished strong in September, and he had a good September offensively. You kind of felt like he was going to carry that momentum into 2023. It really hasn't happened, to be honest with you, but hey, he is starting to heat up after a somewhat of a slow start. And hey, I'll tell you what, all this guy needs, he is very good. He's gotten a lot better defensively. If you watch him throw down, if you watch him frame pitches, if you watch him just block pitches in the dirt and how he calls games, he has gotten a tremendous amount better defensively. He's a switch hitter, but he's a better hitter, in my opinion, left-handed. That left-handed stroke is really good. So, hey, all he really needs is a period of good health. Then he just needs to get hot and get in the groove, and he'll be right back to, the batting averages and the hit tool that we've become accustomed to for Carson Taylor, the young catcher out of Virginia Tech. Another young man that got off to a slow start in 2023, Eddie's Leonard, that is heating up as well. Hey, Eddie's is now 8 for 16 in this series so far, which only has one more game against the San Antonio Mission. And in that time, it's not like he's just dinking base hits. He's doing this right here. He has 4 doubles, he has a home run, and he has 4 runs scored and 15 total bases. So, hey, good to see Eddie's Leonard. There's a reason why the Dodgers put him on the 40-man roster last year, and that's because he is super talented. He's a young man that just doesn't seem like he ever gets in a hurry. If you watch him play defense, it's not, guys that are smooth and they do everything smoothly, it never seems like they're going that fast. But then whenever you look at the competition, they're always either gaining ground or staying ahead of the competition, and you realize they actually are, but it just doesn't look like that because they're so smooth. Eddie's Leonard is that guy defensively. It just seems like he's taking his time, fielding the ball, takes his time, throw it to first base, and then it's always well on time, and you're realizing all this is going real fast. He's just making it look so easy that it just doesn't look like he's sped up. So I love Eddie's Leonard's defensive game, that flat swing, the way he brings his hands to the zone and a flat path. I love that. He is going to be able to hit. Been a slow start to 2023, but he's heating up. Again, 8 for his last 16. Well, it seems like Johnny DeLuca is on the show every single day. He extended his hit streak last night to 6 games, and he is 13 for his last 26 with 6 doubles, 3 home runs, 6 runs scored, 8 RBIs, and 28 total bases. I'm out of breath just talking about it. How about that 6-game hit streak for him where he's hitting .500 and doing a lot of damage? We've talked about all the different tools. He can hit home runs. He can steal bases. He is a great defender in the outfield. He can, hit for average. He can do it all, Mr. Johnny DeLuca. The High A Great Lakes Loons continue to be one of the most exciting teams in the minor leagues. They just continue to come back and win games in different ways. In late innings, you're looking at a walk-off from yeinerfernandez yesterday. The Great Lakes Loons, they went in to the bottom of the 10th inning, extra innings. This is a walk-off in extra innings. Tied, obviously, and then this walk-off base hit from yeinerfernandez. The Loons scored 2 in the first, 2 in the fourth, and 2 in the 7th, and then they had the 1 in the bottom of the 10th from yeinerfernandez. There's Michael Hobbs right there you see on the right of your screen. There's Austin Gauthier clapping his hands and walking off, and there is the walk-off from yeinerfernandez. So a very exciting day. He had 2 hits on the day, I should say. He had 2 RBIs, and he is now the young catching infield prospect out of Venezuela. Is hitting .291. His OPS is .788. He has hits in 10 of his last 13 games. Fernandez is one of the toughest outs, no doubt, of any of the Dodgers in the organization. He just, like we saw that hit right there, he fights you. He won't give in. He just puts the ball in play, and he gets a lot of base hits. Very frustrating, kind of pesky for the other team's offensive pitcher, and he does a lot of that right there, just putting hard ground balls in play, just making contact. Love this young man, and he is one of the toughest young men. When I did the all grit team, he was one of the go-tos for a lot of the guys. yeinerfernandez. My man Tayloryoung, the young man out of Louisiana Tech, who was the all-time hits leader for the Dogs down there, had a 16-game on-base streak, I should say, snapped yesterday, but started he had it snapped on Friday, I should say, but on Saturday, he started an all-new streak, getting 2 hits, 2 RBIs for the Loons. Young has an on-base percentage of .366, and he's just getting started. If you talk to the Louisiana Tech, I should say, I saw the LA. Sometimes I see that, and I just automatically default to Los Angeles. Excuse me. Louisiana Tech. If you talk to the people that were around him at Louisiana Tech, the quote that they will say about him is, hey, he's just getting started. The young man, Tayloryoung. Not much more you can say about Key West native Antonioknowles other than, wow, great job, young man. Last night, it was the 8th inning. The game was tied. The go-ahead run was on third. There were less than 2 outs. All the other team had to do was put the ball in play to give themselves a lead going into the bottom of the 8th inning. And what did Antonioknowles do? He started that right there. He started draining threes with that slider. That is just such a great pitch, and his 2-seam fastball. Look at the depth in that pitch. Just draining threes at that pitch. I love that pitch from Antonioknowles. He needs to give that a name. That pitch is too good to not have a name behind it. So, okay, Antonioknowles, he held the River Bandits scoreless there, which the Loons were able to come back in the 10th inning like we saw, and Yeinerfernandez on the walk-off and win that game. Okay, Knowles, he had 3 strikeouts with the slider and the 2-seam, and his ERA on the year is just .084. Look at this throw from Damon Keith. Look at that hose. I love that. Damon Keith with the good arm right there from center field. Okay, so Antonioknowles, ERA .084. His whip is .113, and he has 17 strikeouts in 10.2 innings. So Antonioknowles just keeps doing his job. Talk about just doing your job. That would be big right-hander Aldryacosta. Man, this young man, he just is the master of inducing right here ground balls and then weak contact. He just moves the ball away with that sinker from the barrel, and the other team just can never hit him hard. I apologize for the video here. Nothing I can do about it. I know it's herky-jerky, so we'll have to deal with it right there. But you get a good look at the double play that was turned. Okay, so, hey, the ability to be able to move the ball with that sinker has given him the ability to post a .150 ERA, a whip of just .108, and he has 8 scoreless outings in a row. Matter of fact, the only outing of the year that he gave up a run was his very first one, and he has been scoreless ever since. Aldryacosta. In the first game yesterday, Rancho did not waste any time. They scored 2 in the first, 5 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, 1 the sixth. They won 10-0 behind great pitching, great offense as well, but great pitching from Payton Martin, who you're seeing right here, who I still can't believe how he dropped all the way down to the 17th round. It just does not make any sense to me because he is just insanely good. Yesterday, I got confirmation that he was hitting 98 miles an hour. So Payton Martin, the young man out of Clemens, North Carolina. Well, I'll tell you what, this young man, 98 right now, and he's only 18 years old. The Dodgers got him in the 17th round straight out of high school. Not even all the way filled out now. He has gained about 25, 30 pounds since he's become a professional. But, hey, that 98, it's only going to keep climbing north. He is going to be approaching 100 miles an hour, and he might be even, kind of like a Dustin May type guy where he's actually sitting in the 97, 98 as he continues to fill out here in a couple of years. So, hey, yesterday, he can, like I said, let's back up just a touch. He's a 4-pitch strike thrower, fastball, curveball, slider, change, and he can throw strikes with all 4 pitches. Yesterday, he went 2 1/3 innings scoreless, and he has an ERA on the year of just .064, a whip of .103. He has all the it factors. This young man, Payton Martin, buy stock in him right now because he is absolutely fantastic. This is jesusgaliz, one of the best young catching prospects out of Venezuela. The Dodgers 3 years in a row took a catcher from Venezuela in the international signing period. Venezuela does a great job of producing great baseball players, and if you ever talk to a young man from Venezuela, well, I'll tell you what, they are just wonderful young men. They do a great job of building a great culture there, which is why they fit in so well with the Dodgers. Galiz had a 2-hit day for Rancho. He now has 5 hits in his last 6 games and 8 out of his last 10. Had a chance to talk to this young man a couple of times. Wonderful young man, again, out of Venezuela. 2020 during COVID, he lost his father to COVID, and he has dedicated basically his entire life to his dad. He plays every game dedicated to his father. That is a tremendously powerful emotion, and that is a tremendously powerful amount of just motivation to want to be great every day, and that is what jesusgaliz is for the Single A Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. Joseizarra had a pair of base hits today, or yesterday I should say, as well for Rancho Cucamonga, and he also had 2 ribeye steaks and a run scored. Watch this young man, Izarra, just zoom around the bases. He's played everywhere around the infield, but I think probably at a major league level, if he makes it that far, second base would probably be his home. Very slick fielding infielder. One of the best defensive infielders in the organization, in my opinion, Joseizarra. Very, very, very slick defensive player. Okay, and he also has some pop, as you see right here, and the potential to hit a bunch of doubles. He likes using the big part of the field, the middle of the field. He's kind of a gap-to-gap type hitter. So Joseizarra, good young player for Rancho Cucamonga. Here is Jaredkarros. Yes, the young man is the son of Eric-Karros, the former Dodger and current broadcaster for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I'll tell you what, he is a tall drink of water. Jaredkarros is 6'7". He has a 4-seam that sits 92 to 94. That has a lot of downhill movement to it. So, that's going to, anytime a ball moves downward, that makes it just that much more difficult, especially for horizontal type bats like you just saw right there on that swing, to get a hold of and barrel up much at all. Okay, so the 4-seam, that's 92 to 94, a slider, curve, and change with a 6'7" frame. The Major League Baseball bloodlines. There's a lot to like right there in the young man who just came out of UCLA, Jaredkarros. He had a very good outing yesterday for Rancho. He went 3.2 scoreless. He gave up just 3 hits and struck out 3. Karros' ERA on the year is down to 2.03. His whip is down to 1.05, and he has 18 strikeouts and 13 in the third innings. My man Jonathan Edwards out of Georgia Southern. Hey, his uncle is Tommy Smith, the young man that stood on the medal platform in the 1968 Olympics and, got a medal in that Olympics. And so, he comes from great bloodlines. Jonathan Edwards does. He went to Georgia Southern, and, he struggled to throw strikes. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Since he's been a Dodger, he was drafted by the Texas Rangers. The Dodgers picked him up a year or two ago, and, since he's been a Dodger, he's been on the developmental list quite a bit. The Dodgers have really worked with him to get him in the zone because, as you're seeing right here, look how explosive that stuff is. The bite on the breaking ball, the fastball, had good life to it. So Jonathan Edwards, he has big stuff. He has the big, tall frame. He has, just a lot of potential, but you got to harness that potential. I always talk about that bull that you're trying to break. Sometimes, they're going to win that race, but they also might end up in Canada. That's pretty much been Jonathan Edwards as far as hitting the strike zone so far. But, hey, yesterday he was in total command of his stuff, and it absolutely showed. As his one inning, he struck out the side. Thayronliranzo is another catching prospect. To me, he kind of looks like Juan Soto when he hits. He has a lot of Juan Soto as far as the hitting mechanics, just kind of his mannerisms, the way he goes about things. Thayronliranzo hit 2 bombs, and they were both to that exact same spot to dead center. Wow. A lot of power for the young catching prospect, Thayronliranzo. He hit home runs number 5 and 6 yesterday for Rancho Cucamonga. In the second game yesterday, Rancho Cucamonga scored 2 in the 4th and 2 in the 6th, and that was all they needed as they downed Lake Elsinore again in the second game of the doubleheader, 4-3. Who you're seeing right here is left-handed pitcher Maddux Bruns, who has, talk about nasty stuff. He has all the measurables on his stuff, the velo on the fastball, the horizontal break on all of his breaking balls, the vertical break. He has it all, Maddux Bruns. And, he's another one of those guys, young guys that, hey, in the past, it's been about, can he throw enough strikes to actually be effective? Yesterday he went 3 2/3 innings. He gave up just 1 run, and Bruns has 7 strikeouts, and he had 7 strikeouts yesterday, I should say, and he gave up just 2 hits. So again, his stuff is very, very, very explosive. It was yesterday, and it's been in the zone this year. That's the big factor for him. His ERA on the year is just 1.29. His whip, which is walks and hits per inning, is just 1.15. So he's been very efficient as well as explosive as well, and his average against is just 1.48. So great job, the young man out of Mobile, Alabama. Maddux Bruns, great job. Chris Campos had a good outing for Rancho yesterday, going 2.1 scoreless. He struck out 3. The young man who in the past has been told that he was too little to go Division I. My goodness. And how about that? He definitely was told he was too little to go professional, but look at him now. Matter of fact, he actually had to transfer high schools to get to a coaching staff that actually believed in, what he could do and his future. He ended up going to St. Mary's. He was actually the starting shortstop for St. Mary's, and he got to play behind Michael Hobbs, old Hobbsy, who's with Great Lakes right now, who is the all-time saves leader at St. Mary's. So that was kind of neat for those two guys. And I know whenever the Dodgers drafted Campos, Hobbs was one of the first young men to reach out to him and talk to him, congratulate him first, but also talk to him about what it's like to be a Dodger. So good outing yesterday for Chris Campos. He went 2 1/3 scoreless. He struck out 3, and he has allowed runs in just one outing this year. His ERA is 2.45, and he has 22 strikeouts in 17 innings. So, hey, he is just getting started. Again, he didn't pitch as much in college. He has been a pitcher only in pro ball, and that big right arm is only going to get more efficient. It's only going to get better. It's only going to get stronger. So, hey, not only is he he's young, but, his arm is not just completely worn out like a lot of guys his age because he hasn't pitched as much. So, Chris Campos has an exciting future. So there you have it. There is our show for you today. Again, in the organization 6-0, and you got the big win against San Diego at the top, which is always the one that you want. And hey, all but the high A affiliates, every one of the affiliates that the Dodgers played yesterday were San Diego affiliates. So, hey, how about that? At the major league level, AAA level, AA level, single A level, all San Diego affiliates, and he went 6-0, so you can't beat that. But hey, it's time to turn our attention to Sunday. Got to move on. I talked about yesterday after the loss. Hey, got to move on to the next day. That's what the Dodgers have to do right now with a chance to win the series tonight on Sunday Night Baseball. Julio Urias against Joe Musgrove. It is going to be a heck of a lot of fun. Okay, so that's our show for you today. I'm glad that you've tuned in. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you tune in tomorrow as well. Before we bounce out of here, just a reminder, if you'd like to help Dodgers Daily by donating, we do now have a GoFundMe account, and the link to that GoFundMe account is in the description. So just click that, and it'll take you right where you need to go to help Dodgers Daily by donating. And also, if you like this video, and if you like this kind of content, go ahead and click that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily, become a subscriber. After you subscribe, click that notification bell, turn on your notifications. That way, every time Dodgers Daily release a new video, you'll be notified. You won't miss a thing, and Dodgers Daily can keep growing, and we can keep doing what we love to do, which is providing videos and content like this in the future. As always, thanks for tuning in, and go Dodgers.